Hello and welcome everyone to the Thermographic Diagnostic Imaging Health Through Awareness webinar series. My name is Leisha Getson and I'll be your host this evening. I'm a board certified thermography technician with Thermographic Diagnostics and the founder of Health Through Awareness, a venture to bring like-minded individuals together to share their experience and expertise on a wide variety of holistic health topics via a monthly newsletter and our webinar series. Just a little housekeeping. Tonight's presentation will last 50 to 60 minutes, followed by a Q&A. You should be able to hear me and the speakers as well as follow along with the PowerPoint presentation. To the right of your screen, you should see a chat box. So if you have a question, just type it in and submit it, and we're going to get to as many questions at the end of the webinar as possible. If for some reason you get cut off from the webinar, don't worry. The presentation will be archived and can be found on our website within a day or two at tdinj.com. So let me introduce my speaker this evening. I'm so happy to have her with us. Her name is Pati Reiss. Pati graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in 2000. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Human Services and Special Education from Trinity College. She has completed the Neuronutrient Therapy for Addictive Disorders training with Julia Ross, who is the author of The Mood Cure and The Diet Cure. She is a certified recovery coach through the Alliance for Addiction Solutions. She works on staff as a recovery food educator and nutrition treatment consultant for the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition, where she is currently the president of the board of directors. Pati is the founder of High Vibe Recovery, a holistic recovery coaching program, and the founder of the Holistic Gourmet, which offers cooking classes, retreats, food and nutrition education classes, and online food courses. Pati also has a private holistic health and recovery coaching practice in Salt Lake City and works long distance with clients throughout the country offering holistic recovery training. So obviously, Pati is very, very passionate about this epidemic of substance abuse disorder, and we're very happy to have her offer some practical tools this evening and some education around this devastating disease and disorder. So Pati, thank you so much for taking the time. That's one heck of a resume there. So I know you're a busy girl, so we do appreciate you taking the time to educate us about this very important topic.
Well, thank you, Leisha, for that lovely intro. And I didn't realize I do that many things.
But, I know, right? You're pretty impressed, aren't you?
Yeah. Although even with that, I still, I try to keep a balanced life, and a lot of my coaching is nutrition and lifestyle coaching, and trying to keep people or guide people through a more balanced life. And that often gets thrown off with addiction and mental health issues. So I'm very excited to be here, and I love talking about food and solutions for addiction and mental health through food and nutrient therapy. When you asked me to speak, I was like, well, what topic? How do I want to title this? And revolution is a pretty strong word, but I feel like we need to move into that a little bit in how we're treating addiction and mental health. And clearly, if many of us on the call and many of us in this field know that the statistics are pretty grim in terms of the success of traditional treatment. And there is by far great stuff happening with traditional therapy and EMDR and AA. And I've had all of those. But the thing that's helped my life the most, and the thing I realized in my own personal journey, which I will get into a little bit later, is that food and nutrient therapy were missing in my life. And that is what ultimately pulled me out of severe depression, anxiety, and near-death addiction overdose.
Wow.
So
that's powerful. So it is a revolution.
That's why I use revolution.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So anyway, that front slide, just for folks to know that I found that picture. I was looking for how I feel now in my life, and I have 12 years of sobriety. And that's how I feel. I feel like I'm free. And I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I think the 12-step program is a great program. It is not full recovery. It's a community. It's a connection. It's a resource for people to meet other people and have hope in that sense. So for me, it was like that freedom that they talk about in Alcoholics Anonymous is just like, and I found that ultimately through food and nutrition and following Julia Ross's trail.
Yes.
Which
to follow.
Yes. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
That is a beautiful picture this first slide. And by the way, folks, I will be controlling Patty's slides today, so she'll be telling me next. So just to bear with us.
Yeah. So and that's interesting because the codependency. I'm giving up control to you, Leisha.
Thank you,
so I'm going to have Leisha. So I'm going to have you go next.
Okay.
So we'll move on.
Okay. This one. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So to me, it's food for recovery that we're going to talk a little bit about today, and I'm going to share the Pro Recovery 5-star diet. Which is not going to be really like that different than most folks are eating: protein, fats, complex carbs. But we'll go into it a little bit more down through the PowerPoint tonight. But it's food for recovery, but it's also for a happy, vibrant life. So, I mean, people in recovery can't afford not to eat some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, but everybody wants to be happy and everybody really wants to live a vibrant life. Mm-hmm. And food feeds all of that. We are walking food, and getting the right foods in, and understanding a little bit more about how the food industry has not provided information and even clean foods for us, I think will be hopefully inspiring for folks to change and help our children, our families, our clients, our communities eat better, feel better, and I believe, save more lives and change the planet. It's a big mission, but I believe we're going to do it, and I see it happening. So
I'm with you. I think so too.
Next.
Yeah. Okay.
So, when I talk about recovery, and many of my colleagues like Julia Ross, Christina, Hyla Cass, a lot of the pioneers in this field of brain nutrition and holistic recovery, we understand that we, like a three-legged stool, we need all three. We need the body, the mind, and the spirit. We can't just do one. So if you're just doing spiritual stuff and you're leaving out the mind and the body, the stool will fall. So we need all three legs of recovery to be strong and there for us to really fully recover. Often the body piece is missing. So people are, suffering from ill health, allergies, toxicity, neurotransmitter deficiency, which we're going to talk about tonight. And even as they work their program, and that's the missing link that I'm going to share with you tonight.
Exciting.
Next. So the body piece is often the missing link. It isn't always the missing link, but often it is because a lot of folks in traditional addiction therapies are not trained in nutrition or brain nutrition. Even many of our doctors aren't, unless you're a functional medicine doctor and looking at some of those pieces, which a lot are, and that's exciting because I think the integrative holistic model is growing. It's not woo-woo anymore. It's actually science. And I teach a class at a treatment center, and I guess I use that phrase a lot. This is science. This isn't theory, because that is the case. I mean, and that's why it's kind of perplexing for those of us in the field. Like I was always like, why aren't people talking about this? Why didn't I get any of this in the first treatment center that I went to, and then in the second treatment center that I went to? I ended up finding it on my own, but I'm really glad I did.
Thank God. I mean, it's mind-boggling, though. Yeah, that this is not part of the mainstream treatment. Right. And you're right. The science is all there, right? the science is saying 80 to 90% of disease is diet and lifestyle related, right? So
exactly. So
we're not making this stuff up.
No, and it's growing, and that makes me happy. And I've seen more miracles in my coaching practice and even a little bit in my family. They're a little bit harder, but certainly in my coaching and with my students, and we see that across the board in so many of us that are doing this work. So I'm excited and happy to be sharing more.
Sure.
So, okay.
Yeah. Next.
All right. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this piece, about the biochemical piece. And this often throws a lot of people go, aha, to some of these factors. But these are some of the biochemical factors leading to addiction, mental health, and relapse. Neurotransmitter depletion, mood disorders, which are connected to mood disorders, tolerance, when people they grow a tolerance by using and drinking more or using substances, and then they have to go up again, and their tolerance level changes, and that's connected to our neurotransmitter depletion that we're going to talk a little bit more about tonight too. I'm not going to cover all of these. Neurotransmitter IM and trauma. I wanted to put that in there because when we have had a trauma, both physically and emotionally, our neurotransmitters, our brain chemicals that help us feel happy, safe, connected, drop. It's part of the physiology and the biochemistry of trauma. And that's when the door opens to addiction. And I'll just share that when my father was in an accident when I was young, and my mother, who never drank before, started drinking after his accident because she was so traumatized that was what was available to her. And I think they had put her on some other meds. That was 1966. So I'm not sure what other medications she was put on back then.
Right.
But that led to many years of alcoholism for my mother because she had a trauma. She wasn't a drinker before that.
Wow.
So I wanted to share that because oftentimes the trauma itself depletes your neurotransmitters. It completely oftentimes affects your gut as well too, and a lot of the neurotransmitters, particularly serotonin, are produced in the gut. So I just wanted to tap into that trauma is a big part of how neurotransmitters get depleted, and they get depleted from other things as well too. And then allergies is another biochemical factor that can lead to it. I mean, people are reactive to certain substances and they feel out of balance, and they go to, drugs or alcohol, or even their substance they're allergic to. They keep taking more of it. Mm-hmm. So it's part of that biochemical synergistic reaction that happens from an allergy. Which is often interesting. Toxicity. So our bodies can be so toxic that we feel crazy. Mm-hmm. We have heavy metals, there are chemicals, there are food additives, there are biotoxins from candida and many other things, and infections that again, those things can actually throw off our neurotransmitters. So all of these different components actually affect our neurotransmitters and help us feel terrible. Sometimes can lead to us feeling terrible and off from, toxicity. So that's another biochemical factor. And a lot of times people aren't connecting that. I mean, people go into treatment and, they may be loaded with heavy metals or just have infections going on, and they're trying all sorts of stuff. And until the root cause gets changed, they may not stay sober. Hormonal imbalances, PMS, menopause, and andropause for men. Mm-hmm. PMS is a very interesting. I had a client that just had panic attacks and anxiety when she was PMSing. It didn't happen all month, but when she was tracking it, she realized that's when it was. And so I helped her get on to an amino acid protocol just during her PMS schedule so that she could boost that up a little bit. And then she had to change her foods a little bit too, but that can also also be, and I think many of us know too about postpartum depression, is also when serotonin particularly drops. And that's so scary for women who have just had this beautiful baby,
Right.
and they don't even want to be, they're very depressed.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge for those who've experienced that.
Yeah.
Genetics, inherited differences in our biochemistry, which can contribute to everything above. And then the last is a starving brain. So this is when maybe our blood sugar drops. We're on a diet that's not feeding our brain. And if our brain is starving for the right nutrients and macro foods, we're going to feel awful and look for something to help us feel better. So deficiency in nutrients, protein, and essential fats, that's the starving brain. So it's kind of interesting when folks start looking at that and then just start making some changes. And we're gonna learn about some solutions tonight. So
great, that's exciting. May I ask you just a quick question about this slide here?
Yes.
Is there testing that you recommend? Neurotransmitter or food allergy, heavy metal testing?
There are several great tests available out there that folks can do for toxicity, particularly heavy metals.
Right.
It's a little trickier to test your neurotransmitters. I mean, some folks are doing it. I can't remember off track, but there's several. I'll make sure that you get a list of. I'll check in with the Academy and find out Christina's top testing places. I don't test a lot in my practice. I don't seem to need to, but when people do need to, there's several that Christina's just updated. I think there's 2 or 3 that she uses throughout the country. And basically, you do want to test for hormones. The genetic stuff is definitely something folks can test with. And when people have a genetic, when nothing else is working, so in other words, in my practice, when the food dietary stuff and the personalized food stuff that I'm going to go over tonight doesn't work, then I will go into making sure they get some genetic testing or hormone balancing. But generally, when you're starting to change your foods and clean up your diet, a lot of this stuff goes away. Right. But if it doesn't, it can be genetic or toxicity. Okay. But that's what's so wonderful about just changing the diet, is that things just start getting better. And if they don't, we can find out now. Right, so because of some of the genetic, I think it's 23andMe.
Yeah, 23andMe, yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So some of those clients or children that we have that just can't seem to get it, even if they're changing their diet and they're doing what they be doing, there could be a genetic snip that then you can go in and actually target what's not being met in terms of nutritional deficiency or toxicity, and that's fantastic.
That's amazing.
So I'll be sure that you get that list from the Academy, which is both Christina and I work for. So yeah, there are some tests. Again,
I know neuroscience does neurotransmitting.
They do. Neuroscience does do. We particularly use the assessment tool that Julia Ross created. So we actually go on symptoms, and we've been pretty accurate with that. Again, if we're having problems, if folks aren't feeling better soon, and we want them to feel better soon, is usually what happens, then we will go into testing deeper. Gotcha. So the testing comes kind of at the second stage if things aren't changing with their diet and lifestyle changes. Okay. And then for sure, they get some testing. So,
all right.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
On to the next.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Oh,
I love this picture. So, do you have a starving brain? So obviously, this girl's got something going on.
She's got something going on.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us might feel like this when we're hungry, whether it's a blood sugar drop or some of these other symptoms in this next slide.
Go next. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So these are just some symptoms of a starving brain: cravings, addicted, brain fog, can't focus, can't remember, tired, wired, just feel weird, upset stomach, diarrhea, constipation, can't sleep, feeling depressed, irritable, anxious, obsessive, pain, headaches, fibromyalgia, etc.
Wow.
So these are some symptoms of the brain not being fed. And so the Academy, which is run by Christina Veselak and myself right now, and the Alliance for Addiction Solutions, and many of us in this field are saying feed the brain first. And if we can get the brain fed, then we can figure out some of the other things down the road. So we're really about getting the brain fed. Next. So we're going to talk a little bit, before we get into the food part, a little bit about neurotransmitters. This is a brain neuron, and I want to talk a little bit about the neurotransmitters because these are what I talked about earlier about neurotransmitter deficiency, which is fed through food and amino acid therapy. So this is a brain neuron, and all the little floating things, and many of you may know this already, but the little floating things that you see in between are actually our neurotransmitters, and they're connecting. There's a sending cell and a receiving cell, and they go back and forth and have this great communication thing going on, provided the brain is fed. Next.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just talk a little bit about serotonin neurotransmitter tonight. There are 4 major neurotransmitters that we do with an assessment tool with folks, and I'm just going to address serotonin tonight, but we also look at the catecholamines, dopamine, adrenaline. We look at the opiates, endorphins, and we also look at GABA. And then, of course, we always look at blood sugar. So those are kind of the 5 major neurotransmitters we look at and deficiency symptoms in our assessment tool. But tonight we're going to just focus in on serotonin because I want to talk a little bit about the effects of serotonin and its connection with depression and suicide. So this is actually a picture of serotonin. It's a gorgeous molecule, and it is kind of our inner sunshine. It is one of those neurotransmitters that does a lot of wonderful things for us, providing we have enough of it. So I wanted to make sure everybody could see it because that's on a molecular level, beautiful. Obviously, but it's quite beautiful. So this is one of our major neurotransmitters. Serotonin is produced mostly in our belly and somewhat in our intestines. It's also in the brain too, but it's really important to make sure when you're working on helping someone get their serotonin boosted back up again and upgraded, that their belly is in good health too. So we always address that when there's a serotonin deficiency. So next. So when we have balanced serotonin, we have enough serotonin. It's a mood regulator. We have a positive outlook. We're emotionally stable. We're emotionally flexible. We have self-confidence. We actually even have a sense of humor. When I was going through my own depression, anxiety, and addiction, I didn't have any of these. And I used to have a lot of those. So this is part of why it's so important, I think, for people to understand the biochemical connection to mood regulation, because somebody may not be self-confident or have a positive outlook because they're actually low in serotonin. And a lot of folks know this, even the folks that are doing a lot of the therapists that might even be on this call, because it's, and that's where we're looking for, SSRIs to boost it up. Well, we're just going to recommend aminos in food. And not that SSRIs don't come into play for some people, and it has saved lives. So I and my colleagues agree with, we need to save lives, the first thing, but we can also save lives with amino acid therapy and food. So next. Okay. So these are some of the symptoms of, and there's quite a few. We're going to go through this one slide, and then there'll be another one later. These are part of the neurotransmitter deficiency of serotonin. Anxious, agitated, depressed, kind of a negative depression too. It's kind of those people that are just negative, which many of us can relate to, maybe. Some tearfulness, social anxiety, and low self-esteem. So oftentimes social anxiety, I mean, it could be because you're an introvert, and I've had conversations with introverts before, and I've seen folks that come and say, I'm just introverted, I can't really be in public, and they start balancing their serotonin, and they're actually able to speak in front of a crowd.
Wow. Wow.
Or feel good about themselves again because
Right.
their serotonin's balanced again. So oftentimes a lot of the personality traits are actually can be neurotransmitter deficiency symptoms.
Wow. And that's so important for people to know, right? Because if you have these anxious, tearful, social anxiety, low self-esteem, you tend to think, oh, what's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me, but you think it's in your head.
Right.
I mean, but this is empowering to let people know that yes, there's something wrong, but it's not because you're weak or because you don't have enough willpower, or you just don't have enough of the right brain chemistry.
Exactly. And boy, I sure wish I had known this stuff in college.
Right. Yes. Right.
Or even in high school, because I think life would have been so much easier and better. And I struggled so much with so many emotions and just challenges in classrooms myself. So yes, I think it is something that I'm hoping more therapists and we are seeing a lot of people in the mental health world come in and learn more about this, because all of us want to help people. It's just we're just not educated in it, and that's part of the reason we're doing this class tonight, which I'm very excited about. Panic attacks, phobias. I mean, if any of the listeners have ever had a panic attack, it's horrifying, and I have had them when I was depleted in serotonin. And phobias, just fear around you, worry, rumination. It's that obsessive thinking, obsessive thoughts and behaviors. OCD is often low serotonin. It could also be that you're just more of a perfectionist, but when it gets to the place where you're obsessively compulsive, that disrupts your life, and life becomes unmanageable. And that's when, by looking at serotonin and balancing your food, that can go away. Irritability, rage, violence. So if we look at this one right here, I mean, look at our world right now.
Right.
I mean, the violence and the rage. I mean, can you imagine if we were eating well and we were feeding people, and what that would do to our planet and the mental health and addiction rates? And that the people we see with so much violence and rage and mental health issues are depleted in so many brain chemicals. So, and then on the last on this slide is suicidal thoughts. Next.
Okay.
So I want to talk about this.
Okay.
This is a serious topic, and I wanted to bring it up in this talk tonight. Because it's a serious topic. Some people may have even lost children or family members to suicide. We know what's happening out there. We see many suicides, and it breaks a lot of our hearts. Who know that could be shifted with the right foods and nutrients. And sometimes it's just their time to go. I get that. But a lot of people who commit suicide are completely deficient in their neurotransmitters. And it's dangerous. And that's part of saving lives. And I wanted to share a little bit about my story just right now. I'm in sobriety. I've been sober 12 years, and I am a certified holistic health coach. I was before I was suicidal myself, and I didn't understand my feelings of suicide and severe depression and anxiety. It was unbearably scary to me, And I have two beautiful children. I have a loving family. I didn't come from I may have had trauma as a child, but I didn't come from, this horrible family. I had people supporting me and loving me, and I still wanted to leave.
Mm.
I couldn't imagine going on in the state that I was in. It was unbearable to me.
Mm.
I understand suicide now. I didn't understand that before. But when I got so depleted in my serotonin particularly, but some of the other neurotransmitters were in there too. But serotonin in particular is why I put suicide watch on here, because I was so deficient in that. I didn't want to be here anymore, and I couldn't imagine that. And so I wanted to share that because my story, my feelings of suicide, I felt a lot of shame and guilt over them. And I couldn't stop drinking. And I was a certified health coach and kept drinking because nobody was telling me about my serotonin deficiency. I did try Zoloft for a little while. That didn't work for me. I would have tried anything.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that was taking me out of my pain was alcohol. And my alcoholism got so bad that I ended up overdosing. And I really shouldn't be alive. I had a 0.5 alcohol level. I am not a big woman. And my sister was planning my funeral in 2005. I've been sober 12 years, as I said. And I got another chance at this. I wasn't supposed to go, as my brother said, it wasn't my time. And I see that. And so I'm very passionate about this topic, which is why I wanted to bring it up. And I ended up finding out on my own. I got in recovery. Yes, I still had to do my therapy around my dad's death and my divorce. And I did EMDR too around my trauma. It wasn't like just food and nutrients were the magic ticket. It was part of the magic ticket for me, but there were other pieces in there too. I needed a community, and I needed to not drink again.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people that, needed to, put that aside, and I wanted to. So I wanted to bring this up because it's a really powerful thing. And I think as we can help more people really look at the dangers of suicide and helping them get back to a place. And obviously, if someone's suicidal, 911, get them support right away. But if we see that coming on and we can work with depression through some of these nutrients, then please let's go ahead and do that.
Yes,
so,
for sure. Yeah. Well,
anyway.
Thank you for sharing that part of your personal story. And it's very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah. So next. So there's a few more things about serotonin I want to talk about, and then we're going to move on to the food. So here's some more symptoms of low serotonin that some folks may not be aware of, but that's fibromyalgia and migraines. I mean, I had a gal in my office the other day, actually last week, and she's been suffering from migraines so much. And so we had to do some work on her gut, but it was also low serotonin. So that's not often associated with migraines. I mean, there's lots of hormonal things that happen with migraines and inflammation and many other things that we know about, but sometimes it could be low serotonin, TMJ, sugar and carbo cravings, bulimia, compulsive overeating. Again, a lot of serotonin is produced in the belly. So when people are bulimic, they're losing that, and they're losing their the health of their gut. So if any of us are suffering with that, or have clients or family members, really want to address the serotonin and heal the gut. Seasonal affective disorder is low serotonin. Hyperactivity. It's different than ADD. It's kind of like hyper. You just feel like you're hyper. You can't shut the brain off. It keeps going. That's usually serotonin. Sleep issues, trouble falling asleep, frequent waking, and then of course PMS that we talked about earlier. But I want to come back to the sleep. This is important because low serotonin sleep is so critical for us, and some of us need more than others. And I did not sleep when I wasn't well, and I had anxiety and depression, and I drank to sleep too. But of course, that just throws everything to a snowball because your serotonin drops and your blood sugar drops. I wasn't eating, and there's a lot of things that mix into it. But I want people to understand that low serotonin, it will definitely affect your sleep. The other things that will affect sleep, are definitely, emotional stuff, but also adrenals. Look at the adrenals, and then blood sugar. So those are the three general biochemical things that might prevent us from sleeping. And we need our sleep. We really need our sleep.
For sure, Lots
Okay.
of people with sleep issues out there.
Yes. Yes.
Lots of them.
I know. So
I'm
next,
surprised about the TMJ. That's very interesting.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to make that connection, so I'll have to do a little
Yeah.
research into that
Yeah,
one.
you'll have to, because that's all I know is just on my list.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll do.
Put the
Next
doctor
slide.
to it. Put your husband to it.
Okay. Will do.
Okay, next.
Got it. Restoring serotonin.
So we're going to talk about bringing serotonin up, particularly serotonin, because that's the neurotransmitter I'm focusing on tonight. And the amino acid therapy that we use to bring it back up is 5-HTP or L-tryptophan. Those are both amino acids, and we do them in different doses. And I want to talk a little bit about this because as a certified nutrition recovery coach, I work with people, and many of us that are trained in it too, work with people making sure they are on a medication, that we know what they're on, what they're coming off of, and how we can integrate and wean people off and plug in the right aminos. Because you never want to just stop any kind of medication. You want to check in with your doctor, and you want to make sure that you're weaning off and plugging in what you need. And so that's done with a certified nutrition recovery coach that will make sure you all get information on. But 5-HTP in general and L-tryptophan both raise serotonin. Now, they're slightly a little different. 5-HTP works for some people better than L-tryptophan. It does not work for me. And we're going to talk a little bit about personalized amino acid therapy and personalized nutrition in a little bit. But I am blood type A, and blood type A's have more cortisol. So 5-HTP can raise cortisol a little bit. So some people who are more anxious do better with L-tryptophan, providing you're not on an SSRI, because we don't want to give too much serotonin, because that can be that doesn't work, because then it creates too much serotonin and you feel just as bad as too little serotonin. Mm-hmm. So 5-HTP and L-tryptophan is generally used at night for sleeping, but some people do okay on 5-HTP. So, it really varies depending on the person. We have found blood type O's to do better on 5-HTP in general. And then amino acid therapy always works with cofactors. So that's where the food comes in, B complex, vitamin C, and other nutrients may be needed to support the conversion of amino acids into the right neurotransmitters. So that's where the cofactors come in, like B complex and C, and making sure the diet's there too. Some people can take aminos and feel better, but if you add the cofactors, you'll be sure to feel better. And there are often more cofactors than are listed here, and that's part of the personalized nutrient therapy, which is the next section on this slide. And that depends on the personal profile of the person and their health history, what medications they're on, and just how, it's just their own personal history a little bit, and what nutrients would work for them on a more personalized level. There are other integrative therapies that can help raise serotonin, like Qigong and singing and yoga. Many other things help raise serotonin. I also teach meditation, and people feel like they've raised their serotonin, which is absolutely true. That can raise, but to sustain it, you need to get into the biochemical factors, and you need to feed the brain with food and nutrient therapy. So that's what keeps it lasting. And you may feel great after a yoga class, which is awesome. But if the brain isn't fed, then it will drop down quickly. So we want to keep people sustained, feeling good.
Yes, right.
Which is the last one, which is food in the pro-recovery diet. And we're going to go into that right now.
Okay.
So the pro-recovery 5-star diet. So I'm excited to share this with you, and it's probably not going to be new to, it's not necessarily a new diet. It's just a well-balanced food plan, and that actually people in recovery, particularly if they're healing from any kind of addiction, mental health issue, and oftentimes even, surgery or other illnesses, really need to make sure they're getting in the right nutrients for them. So we're going to go through that a little bit.
Okay.
So here are the 5 stars of this diet. And, we thought about creating the Pro Recovery 5-star food plan, but we're just going to leave it as a diet. And really what it is a food plan. It's a food plan for life. Number 1 is protein. Number 2 is fats. Number 3 is complex carbohydrates. Number 4 is quality, clean food. And number 5 is personalized food plan and diversity. So that's it in a nutshell, all of it. And then we're going to go through each one in just kind of an overview tonight, because it would take too long to go into it deeper. But I'm going to hopefully give people enough information so they can work with this a little bit.
Okay.
Next. So what's on your plate? So this is when I work with clients and we teach my students, I want them to start thinking about what's on their plate. So oftentimes I'll draw a picture of a plate and we start talking about how to get what we need on our plate. Next. Protein. So protein's number 1. So that's not the most appetizing picture because it's got raw meat on there. So I'm sorry if there's any vegans on the call. They're probably like, oh, and you can get your protein through vegan sources. But this is kind of a general, as you can see, there's lots of different sources of protein on here. It would be a lot better if it was cooked, but that's what we have. So protein is number 1. Okay. And next. And I'm going to talk a little bit about protein and what it does. I didn't list the protein on this call because this webinar, just because it would take too much time, and most of us know what protein is. But protein is essential because it supplies our body with amino acids. It's the building blocks from amino acids. So when we're eating protein, we are creating the amino acids that feed our brain and feed the neurotransmitters that I just talked about with serotonin. So, and it doesn't just feed serotonin, it feeds our dopamine, it feeds our GABA, it feeds our natural opiates, and it feeds our blood sugar. So it's a blood sugar balancer. Protein also helps with the creation of hormones. It's in the creation of our tissues, our nerves, our blood, our bones, our skin, our organs, and even enzyme functions. So it's a macro nutrient. We need to get protein in somehow, and we need to get the right protein in for us, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. Next. So number 2 is fat, and we're going to talk about fat being a friend and not a foe. As you can see here, there's some good fats. You see olive oil and flax seeds and walnuts and eggs and salmon. Even leafy greens have a little bit of fat in them, omega-3s in them. So we're going to talk about the importance of having good fats and what they do in our diet and on our plate. Next. So, and there are lots of fats, as you know. There's omega-3s, which we need more of. There's 6, there are 9s, and there's saturated fats. We need a mix of more of the omega-3s than any of the others, but we still can get in some omega-6s and some omega-9s, and you can get lists online, and I have that in one of my classes. But saturated fats too, like butter and ghee and coconut oil, those are all grapeseed oil. Those are all fats that our body needs, and we need a variety. Again, we need more of the omega-3s than any other fat because they actually feed our brain and our neurotransmitters. So every coat in our body and our brain are made of fat. So we need fat. Right. Julia Ross actually came up with more friend not than foe, because in her book, The Mood Cure, she talks about in the 70s, the late 70s, mid to late 70s, when they took fat out and they just said, we're going fat-free. Fat's making us fat and making us sick. And that is not the case. Unfortunately, we went through a decade or more of low-fat foods, and it was a nightmare to most of our health. I was in college back then. No wonder I was drinking. I didn't have any fat.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Well, I didn't know anything about food back then. But anyway, we need it. And it's 60% of our brain. It's the production of most of our hormones. So when our hormones are imbalanced, and this is where we come back to, yes, you do want to get your hormones tested if things aren't working. I do believe in some testing. But if you start improving the fats in your diet and the right fats for you, you will balance your hormones.
Makes sense.
I mean, it's such a beautiful thing when we just start changing our foods, and our health and our life changes. It's beautiful.
Right. Yeah. Giving our body what it needs.
Yes, exactly. Good fats can prevent carbo cravings. It gives us a long, smooth energy ride. It supports a healthy libido, and it keeps our bowels regular, and our skin, it helps our skin. So fats are definitely one of the things we need. Next.
Good for anti-aging.
Anti-aging, that's right. Put it on your skin too.
That's right.
And the number 3 is complex carbohydrates. So these are our friends. And as you can see here, it's vegetables, it's legumes, it's grains, it's nuts and seeds. And we want mostly vegetables. And depending on your personalized nutrition profile, some people can't do as well with some of the grains and the breads. You do see breads in here, and for some people breads are okay, but we really want to stay with the complex carbs that are nutrient dense, that have all the fiber and all the nutrients in them, as opposed to the next slide, which is simple carbs. So this is what we want to stay away from. And a lot of us grew up on some of that stuff. I mean, after my father died, we ate a lot of this stuff. My sisters were kind of cooking for us. So we had pizza and we had donuts. I remember having donuts on Sunday, and I thought I was like in a coma after my donut, you know. And, you know, my mother didn't know either, though. A lot of us aren't taught about this piece in school, which I'm hoping is going to change a little bit. But for now, we want to really help our clients and our families understand the difference between these two. And it doesn't mean you can't have pizza again. You can make a healthier pizza, but if you're in addiction and you're trying to get your body back and you're eating this food, it's going to be really hard to do that. And unfortunately, that's what we see in a lot of the treatment centers, and it breaks my heart. But we're working on some change there.
All right.
So
that's
next.
Good to know. Yeah.
So this is a little bit coming back to complex carbs again. It's our vitamin and mineral supply, so we need them. We need the vitamin and minerals to make the neurotransmitters. So it's like an orchestra. We need good fat, we need good protein, and we need good veggies, and a mix of them. And sometimes some grains in there, mixed in there too. But we want mostly veggies and a lot of leafy greens and a lot of colors. And it helps with our energy. It gives us enzymes and fiber. You know, and a lot of us, you know, didn't grow up with that. You know, I mean, I grew up with mashed potatoes. I mean, I love mashed potatoes, but mashed potatoes didn't help my brain very much. I mean, but it sure did, you know, sure did taste good.
I don't think those Pop-Tarts helped my brain either.
Yeah, I had those too, Pop-Tarts. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Twinkies. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. Oh. Okay, next. So I want to talk a little bit, just mention superfoods before we move on to the end of these slides. And I like to say honorable mentions, because superfoods, and they didn't have superfoods, you know, when I was in college. I don't even remember, maybe they did, but superfood is a nutrient-dense food. It's goji berries and hemp seeds. Leafy greens are considered a superfood. Sprouts are considered superfoods. Hemp seeds, my favorite. Sprouts, sea vegetables, and they're considered a superfood because they're nutrient dense. So the more we can add them to on our plate, the better we're going to feel. And the more we can just help clients explore that a little bit, because a lot of people don't even know about goji berries and they're a little pricey, but you don't need as much.
Right.
So
the hemp seeds, do you grind them?
I don't. You don't need to grind hemp seeds.
Okay.
You do need to either grind chia seeds or soak them to actually really get the availability in them. So a lot of people sprinkle. You can sprinkle hemp seeds on anything. They're soft and you'll get the nutrient value out of it. You will not get as much of the nutrient value out of chia seeds. So if you're eating chia seeds, you want to soak them and keep them in your fridge. I usually keep a bottle in my fridge of soaked chia, and then I'll add it to my smoothie. Okay. If I'm having trouble with my elimination, then I'll take a little soaked chia, and I'll add maybe a cup of soaked chia, and I'll add 2 teaspoons of ground flax seeds at night, and it balances your blood sugar, and then you will be going in the morning, and it's very easy and smooth. It's
Okay.
one of my favorite elimination drinks.
Oh, great. So I was going to ask you about, so you do use flaxseed, but you do grind them.
I do.
And I heard you have to grind them and then eat them because they go rancid. Is that correct?
They do, but if they stay in your fridge for a couple weeks, so you definitely have to refrigerate them. So if you're buying ground flaxseed at the store, it's okay, but get them right into your fridge. Keep your hemp seeds in your fridge. Chia seeds do not need to be in the fridge. That's why we don't digest them. They still have phytic acid on the outside of them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute.
All right,
so
great. Thank you.
Next.
Nice.
Oh, here's a couple. So we have goji berries. Yeah. What's that?
Is that some raw cacao in there?
It is. It's raw cacao on the right, and then you see some goji berries, and those are golden berries up on the top. So these are just 3 examples of superfoods, and they're delicious. All of them. I love all of them. So I just wanted to give you examples of 3 of the different superfoods that I like. So
that raw cacao, that's
chocolate.
Chocolate.
It's chocolate, man. We can have chocolate.
Okay. Next.
Yeah. Next. So I wanted to go over there's 2 more stars we're going to get through. And number 4 is good quality, clean food. And a lot of us already know that, but a reminder on really putting this as a priority, because when we're eating non-organic food, we're loading our body up with more toxins. And our clients that are in recovery and mental health can't afford that. I mean, none of us really can, but particularly people who are coming off toxic substances and then they're eating food that have toxicity. So the more we can guide our clients and our families and friends to buying organic and seeing the value in that, the better, because there's more minerals and vitamins in organic. I mean, you know, there's no pesticides or herbicides, which affect our hormones and are linked to cancer. We know all that. Our body, there's a lot of secret assassins in foods, and that creates toxic overload. And the more we can help our clients look at getting rid of MSG and aspartame and glysophate and zonalin and additives and dyes, high fructose corn syrup, on and on. I mean, the food industry since the 50s and probably before that, but since the 50s, you know, the number of food additives have increased dramatically.
Wow.
No wonder we're sick. No wonder we're addicted.
Right.
So, and yeah, there's some genetic components and familiar stuff too, but if we're getting all these things in our food for so long, of course it's affecting our brain and our ability to function and manage our lives. So I have a little pet peeve with the food industry, and I'm working on that.
Just a little one, Pati?
Yeah, but you know, the thing is, I have to keep myself balanced too. And if I start getting, this is how I do it. I educate. This is what I do. Yeah. I teach about it. I coach about it, and I help people make changes so they start feeling better. And then I sign petitions. I get involved in some of the organizations that, you know, feed children and feed people in recovery. And so that's how we change it.
That's fantastic.
But we change it by ourselves first. So, I wanted to put this book on the bottom. So it's a very interesting. I know. If you want any more information about what the food industry is doing, and this isn't scare tactics, but it's about information, because people are like, no, oh, that's fine in our food. And I want to share a personal story about my sister who's really suffering with brain cancer right now. And I'm heartbroken. A lot of our family members are heartbroken. But for years, I've been telling my sister, like, some of the things she's eating, some of the chemicals in her laundry soaps and other things, you know, start taking them out. And she hasn't listened. And is that the only reason she has cancer? Probably not. But is it a contributing factor? You bet it is. And that breaks my heart. And so the more I can help more people prevent that, cancer and addiction, you know, we do want to be able to start cleaning up our foods. And the food industry, they're not putting it in there so people have cancer. I'm not saying that, but they're putting it in there because it's cheaper. And a lot of them, it's basically money. You know, it's a cheaper way to go. Genetically engineering is not saving the planet. So I'm not a big fan of Monsanto, but the more we can guide our families, if they will listen to making some changes, you know, and that's all we can do. And then we can just pray and let go. So anyway, next.
Okay.
So the next one I want to talk about, and I'm not sure if we're going to get through this whole slide, but I want to talk a little bit about personalized food plan. So we're all unique. Next. And this is kind of an overview of what I look at and other people that I work with look at as well. We look at a health history, obviously, and your genetics, your genes. And then we look at the blood type. The blood type diet is a really powerful way to help people individualize what food works for them. And blood type O's are generally the hunters and gatherers. They are the paleo people that do well with meat and vegetables, a little bit of fruit. They don't do well with gluten and a lot of grains. Some do okay with some of the grains. So this is part of the personalized food plan. Blood type A's are really good vegetarians. They do excellent with fish as their protein, and they do really well with the right rice and beans. They can be better vegetarians in general, and their ancestors were too. Blood type B's can do a little more dairy, and one of their big foods that they don't do well with is chicken, and I just want to throw that out there because chicken is a protein a lot of people go to, but blood type B's and ABs don't do well with chicken. So I just have my clients switch to turkey or lamb if they're doing meat. And that can make a big difference in inflammation and how they're actually able to digest that protein. So when you're coming back to looking at what's on your plate, you want to be sure that on your plate, you're getting the right protein that you digest to turn into those amino acids to feed your brain. Right. So that's part of the link there is like, yes, we all need meat, but we need the meat that we're going to actually digest that can turn into the neurotransmitter food.
Yeah, very important point.
Yeah. The other thing I'm going to mention is the Ayurvedic constitution. I'm not going to go into that. That is a fuller class, but I do use that when I'm working with folks, and each of us have a different nature. Some of us are more fiery and we do good with more cooling foods, and can't work out in the sun and don't do well with spice. Those are Pitta, fire people. Then there's Vata, which are air. Those are the people that generally I have found who have this nature constitution. They're thin, they're dry, they don't care about eating as much, they kind of forget to eat, they're in their mind a lot. Those are a little harder in recovery because they forget to eat and they don't really care about eating, and they're deficient quite a bit. And then there's Kapha, people who are larger and they're more congested if they're out of balance, and they're fuller and slower, and they need a little bit of a different diet profile for those Kapha folks. So that's just kind of a touch on that. And then the metabolic typing is some people are faster burners. They need a little more protein. If you're a slower burner, you can do more carbs. You still need protein, but you need a little bit less fat, and you need more protein and veggies. So it's kind of that mix. And then the mixed type at the bottom, it can kind of just play with all of them a little bit, fat, protein, and carbs. And again, we need all of that. But if you're a fast burner, you're going to make sure you want a little more protein on your plate than maybe someone who's a slower burner. That's all that is. And that's a picture of my daughter and myself years ago. And we're very different. I'm an A and she's an O. I'm Pitta. I have a lot of fire, and she has Vata. So that's all. I just wanted to show that.
It's a lovely picture.
Oh, I love that.
I love the aprons. I love the aprons.
I know, me too. I have both of them now. She didn't keep her apron. I'll have to get her a new one. Yeah. So next, thank you. Okay. So this is kind of an overview of a pro-recovery daily deal, okay? So plan meals and snacks and cook. So if we can get folks to do that and find the time to do that, that's important. Because, and I didn't put this in here, but time is an element that we all are working with. But when we don't eat, our brain and our bodies are really stressed, and our life becomes more stressed. So life can be stressful, but it can become less stressful when we're eating well. And that's what I really want to get across here, and especially our clients that are dealing with stress in their life and stress in their bodies. So we want to help them, even if it's a simple thing, plan meals and snacks and cook as much as possible, or set up their kitchens. So 3 meals a day with protein, fats, and complex carbs. And for some, they need snacks too. Sit and eat. Try not to eat stress, because you're not digesting it if you're stressed. And oftentimes I might just suggest like taking a few deep breaths. Again, supplementing is the next thing, and helping folks supplement what they need for them personally. And of course, hydration, making sure people are drinking enough water in between meals, less with meals, and more in between meals. And then of course, eat clean and stay clean is kind of one of our mottos, and read labels, getting clients to just connect more in with their food and what they're, putting into their bodies. And, moving a little bit, resting, meditating, deep breathing, all of those help people stay in recovery. And when you're eating well, you can do those better. You can rest better. You can actually slow down to take some deep breaths. And you're likely to be able to want to move a little bit more if you've eaten well. So.
Right. Yeah.
So
all
next.
makes sense.
Yay. And I wanted to put this quote in here because I like it. This was from Joshua Rosenthal, who started the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York City that I went to in 2000. And that's when we actually had cooking classes, which were so much fun. So cook like your life depended upon it, because it does. So, I mean, a lot of folks will say, well, I'm not a chef. I can't cook. And I don't believe that. I think we can learn to make hard-boiled eggs and keep them in the fridge. You don't have to be a fancy chef.
And Joshua said that. Just cook real food. That's all. Right.
Remember, just cook food. Just, make some food, and you can spice it up any way that you want. But we need to look at getting food back into our lives and getting into our kitchens more. And, I like to go out to eat too, but I cook more now. I have some salmon thawing right now, which I'm getting very hungry about. So it's part of bringing that back into our lives again and helping that with our clients. And many of our clients who are dealing with addiction and mental health issues have been removed from taking care of themselves and cooking for themselves or their families. So we want to slowly help them integrate that back into their lives again.
Yeah.
Next.
Oh, that looks yummy.
So that's one of my favorite pro-recovery meal. That's what I'm making tonight.
Nice. So
that's just a piece of salmon, a little lemon, and a salad. I mean, it's a really, really simple meal. It's easy to make, and you're getting your fat. It's a pro-recovery meal, so you're getting your fat from your omega-3 fish, and you're getting your protein through your omega-3 fish, which is why I love fish. And then you're getting a mixed green salad. So you kind of get everything there, which is, what we can make easy for our clients.
Right.
Okay, next. So these are tempeh lettuce wraps. And this is another example of a pro-recovery meal. So that could be a meal right there. On your plate. So even though I'm saying protein, fat, that's all of it. I made that with tempeh and some chopped up vegetables, and then you've got the lettuce on the green. There's cilantro in that, and a lot of hemp seeds mixed in that. You could do it with chicken if you don't like tempeh. So you can kind of mix it up there, but that's actually a pro-recovery meal. So that's how simple it can be.
All right.
Next.
Looks delicious.
Yeah, it was good. That was many years ago, too. I haven't made those in a while. Okay, now this doesn't look so good, but it's really good. But this is really good, and this is like my go-to meal when I can't cook anything and I have no time.
Right.
Because this takes less probably 5 minutes. So it's a pro-recovery peanut butter and jelly, basically. But I put P and fruit, but you could use jelly too.
Okay.
So the bottom of that is a sourdough spelt bread that I do well with. People can use gluten-free bread. They don't even need to have bread. I've had people use sweet potatoes if they've had a baked sweet potato. So whatever you have available, and then you just toast the bread, and then you put a layer. What I usually do is I toast the bread, then I put a layer of ghee on there, and then I put a layer of almond butter. So almond butter across the board, everybody can digest well. Not everybody does well with peanut butter, even though I know you may like it. So we're trying to get foods in that you're actually going to digest. And then I put a layer of hemp seeds. I sprinkle them on. You can see a little bit of them on there.
Yeah, I see them. Sprouts.
And sprouts, yep, broccoli sprouts. I know that sounds, not very appetizing, but it's actually delicious. If I don't have broccoli sprouts, I'll put microgreens, which is one of my favorite foods now. A lot of places are selling those little microgreens. You can throw those on there. And I think those are apricots on there. I think I had apricots on there. So that's a really quick meal, and it's very satisfying. And it's the pro-recovery meal. You're getting fat, protein, and complex carbs on there. Okay, next.
Like it.
And this is a smoothie. This is a pro-recovery smoothie. It's got everything in it. It's got protein powder. It's got flax oil or EFA oil that I use. I think there's some maca in there. It's a handful of salad greens, and I think that cucumber in there, and some berries. And it's like a meal. It's like a pro-recovery smoothie.
Yeah.
So sometimes this is all we can get our clients to do, and even that would be a big thing. But if they make a smoothie, they can have it for 2 days. I mean, it lasts for 2 days in your fridge.
Oh, okay.
So it is something, and I do that often. If I know, like I have to teach in the morning, I'll make a smoothie one day, and then I'll have it the next day. So that's something I don't think I put on here, but when our clients are cooking or making something, we cook or prepare once and eat 2 to 3 times.
Right.
Yeah. So that's one of them. And next, I don't know what I have. Oh, those are brain balls. So that's one of my favorite snacks. And some people actually use these for, and that will be in my class that I'm teaching. That's like an almond butter, hemp seed, soaked nuts are in there, chopped up. They're really yummy.
Looks delicious.
Yeah, they're really good. They're good for snacks, and some people actually have them for breakfast sometimes because they're on the go. So I usually keep brain balls in my fridge a lot.
I'll have to get that recipe. Yeah.
Okay.
Next one.
And next, yes.
Yeah.
And this is just a list of some of the services I provide. And we'll come back to that. We can finish with that if you don't mind. Lisa, we'll go to the next slide because we can finish with that if people want to talk a little bit. This is this is called Plate Up. I'm doing this in September. I know I was supposed to do it like a couple of months ago, but I've been making videos. So this is an online 6-week course I'm going to start in September. And it is going to be videos and kind of like putting it all together in an online course. And then the next slide we'll just go to.
Okay. And there you are.
And there I am. So that's me. I just wanted to say happy recovery. But if we can go back 2 slides, we can land on that page if anybody wants any information about my services. The next one.
Okay. The menu of services. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is kind of just my online classes, and my name and everything is at the bottom. And I just wanted to, I guess, open up to if anybody has any questions. Or comments, or anything you wanted to add?
If there's any questions? Just so if people want to get a hold of you, it's Pati at patireiss.com, or call the number. Do you prefer one or the other, email or call?
I prefer email or text. Calling, I don't usually pick up very well. I usually offer a free 15-minute intro call for people, but we schedule that. And then, we can talk about, coaching and what their needs are. And again, working with that, but it's easier for people to text me or
Email you.
Email me. And I guess I don't have I got my email on there twice. My website, just so folks know, is patireiss.com. Just that, patireiss.com. I thought I had that on the bottom here. I guess I put my email on there twice, but that's my website. People can also get a hold of me through my website, which is just, again, patireiss.com. And you can send me a message through that. A lot of folks just connect with me through my website and say hi and check out what I'm doing. And I'm very happy to share this information, and I hope it helps some of you, and I hope you glean something from this and help folks get back into their kitchen, get in the kitchen yourself.
Right.
And I'm very delighted that I was asked to do this.
Well, we were very delighted to have you. And so if people have questions, you can email them right to Patti. And I just encourage you to sign up for one of the classes, do some of the coaching, take some of this wonderful information that she's brought forth tonight, and start to do it yourself, and then to bring it home, and then let that sort of ripple out to your family. I'm just, Patti, you know, I love you, and I'm just so happy, and you bring me such hope, because with this sort of information, I just feel like, you know, if we could get this out, if we could get this disseminated to the people, right people, places, what a difference, you know, what a different world we would be looking at. And it makes me think of just one quick comment. I'm a big fan of Weston A. Price, and he did that when he did that study, when he went out and he studied the indigenous tribes, people who had who lived off the land. And he described them as amazing physical beings, beautiful, big, wide smiles, and straight teeth, and ease of production, and mild-mannered, and happy. And, you know, it's like, yes, that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's the way we were supposed to be, you know, and that it's attainable.
It is. It is so attainable, and thank you for sharing that, because that is, we are supposed to feel happy and well, and some of us just settle for feeling, you know, marginal, and we don't really have to. Disease isn't, you know, something that we're just going to move into all the time, and sometimes it's something we need to deal with. I get that, but I also believe that there's so much hope when we make some changes and we love ourselves, and when we eat better, we love ourselves more. We're feeding the love for ourselves again, because we're feeding our brain that says, you are amazing.
Yes, exactly.
You deserve to eat well.
It's an act of self-care and self-love.
Yeah.
And, well, just thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on. And I hope, I wish everybody so much love and health and wellness. And you know, let's help our communities get better through addiction and mental health, nutrition. Thank you so much.
And that is possible. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Patti. Okay.
Oh, yes.
So thank you for all who joined us tonight. And just to touch on next month's topic will be July 26th. Our speaker will be Cindy Cipriani. She is a author, a public speaker, and an entrepreneur, and a clarity coach. Her topic will be how to move forward when life changes. She's trademarked a program called the 5C Solution, so that should be interesting. What else? As you know, your confidence in this is our highest compliment. If you find value in the services that TDI and Health Through Awareness offer, please consider leaving us a positive Google review. And with that, I will say goodnight and thank you once again, Patti.
Okay.
Stay well.
Blessings for now. Bye-bye. Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.